So you say you bought a bike off of Craigslist and you take it to the bike shop and you get the unexpected wrench drop on you on how much it's going to cost to fix. So I'm going to take this Trek 5200 1999 model as I picked it up, and all the hidden little scary things I had to replace on it, which definitely would bump up the cost. So if you bought a bike like this, there's a good chance you're gonna pay that after this. Welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles. Welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles, hanging out with the guy. Hi, I'm Justin, the guy. Obviously, I have a garage shop. Taking scary out of used bikes one bike at a time. If you like these videos, please like and subscribe. Hi, welcome back to I Know a Guy Bicycles, hanging out with the guy. Hi, I'm Justin on this old bike series. This is a what's going to cost you type thing, or what is or would have cost you per se. I'm a bike tech and been in the industry for over 30 years, so I have a lot of knowledge and background and understanding of how everything works and put everything back together, especially in this vintage. We used to sell these new and Parker bikes in 1999, so I'm very familiar with this bike. In addition to, I do have a plethora of extra parts that I've acquired over time that kind of fits the bike molds that I kind of look for. So I have a little edge on advantage on pricing on that. But what it would cost you if you take to a bike shop is a new bike shop, or in a bike shop, they're looking at new parts. They're not looking for used replacements or anything. It's all what they can find in the catalogs from the manufacturers that they're gonna put towards the bike that you're gonna get worked on. So that really escalates the price of the bike. So just to give you an idea, that's what you're going to be faced with when you buy a used bike and have to take to a bike shop thinking it may need a little bit of work. So when you read that description on that bike, it says, may need a little work, may need a tune-up. This is the dollar amounts you're going to have to consider. So I'm going to talk about this wonderful OCLV as I string up the cables and finish the bar tape. But you know, it's one of those things where I knew this was going to be kind of a troublesome bike per se. And I realized what I had to put into it, and those kinds of deal. For me, I understand the lift, and I did have a lot of the parts in stock, although there's a couple things I'm still going to have to order until this is totally wrapped up. But keeping that in mind, we're looking at a pretty expensive lift on this one, especially how much this one's been used and what needs to be put back into it to get into safe running order. And I've found a lot of bikes like this that do need this kind of work or this attention to detail. And that in mind, it will add up. So let's just start going through some of the things that I had to, I was mostly concerned. So when I was looking at this bike initially, I knew there was a few things I knew right off the bat I'm going to have to work on, like new tires. The frame is going to definitely need a detail. The drivetrain was going to have to be definitely cleaned up as well. So that being said, I knew there was going to be a lift there. But lo and behold, there were some other little scary things that I was going to look for. But before that, I knew I was going to go with a different bar, a different stem, and also a converter, because I had the old school Quill stem and bar, which was a 31.8 without, or 26.6 without a release to do adjustments. So for the next person, I wanted to upgrade those to more standard parts, so for fitting reasons, they can actually get the bike fitted to them appropriately, that kind of deal. So let me just get this cable in here. That being said, I mean, not to say, you know, oops, wrong one. Not to say that getting a bike like this is something you should really shy away from. You just need to really know that what the potential offset of that cost is going to be. So keep in mind, when you buy any used bike, regardless if they say it's tuned, ready to ride or whatever, it's a good chance that it may not, especially if it comes from an independent. If it's coming from a bike shop or coming from like a person like me that's restoring bikes, that has validation behind it, I can provide receipts. I'm a business license and all that. So there's that value prop from my backing. So when you're looking at somebody that's just selling something on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or whatever, you may run into something that's kind of a little funky. So not being said, if it's in better condition, you're going to be a little bit better out of the gate, but you still may need to get it worked on. And to tell you the percentage breakdown for me is, I would say about 90% of the bikes that I look at and acquire, granted, those are bikes I know that will need some little bit extra work because that's where the value prop that I put into it comes up, but about 90% of them are unsafe to ride. They're just straight up unsafe to ride. So get on the bike path, you can get yourself severely hurt. So out of that remaining 10%, I would say maybe 8% maybe rideable, but needs some help. Like will need a tune-up, need a new tire, something very small or minor, possibly. That's about 8%. And the remaining 2%, yeah, you probably have, you know, something of a nature of 2% that's ready to go. Just fine, perfect. Now 2% is really hard to find, especially when it's in season or in the market. And also, in addition to, size is the first thing you need to be looking for. So if it's not the right size, it doesn't matter how big a deal, good of a deal it is, it's still going to cost you in the long run quite a bit. So, because, you know, you get a bike that doesn't fit you, you're going to end up reselling it or gifting it or whatever, then you have to go buy a bike, or you don't get into riding at all, which is the worst painful part. You get turned off on it. So that's not something we want. I want to get you into riding, you know, something that you really enjoy doing and what have you. So that's one of those things where, and that's one of the reasons why I'm doing all of this, is to get those out there and riding. So now on this particular one, I couldn't match up the same cables and housing or the housing lengths due to the fact that I switched out the bar and the stem. So I got to make sure I remeasure it and also have a little bit of extra for readjustment. You know, if I need to, this bike needs to be fitted with a higher stem or whatever the case may be. I try to add a little extra length on the housing. Not too much, of course, that's ridiculously excessive, but in the sense that you can actually, you know, have those ability to do some changes and fitting. And pretty much all bike mechanics should be thinking that when they are lacing cables and housing, even on bikes that are already fitted, you want to have just a little bit of adjustment for any potential that needs things to be changed. But there's nothing worse than like restring everything and wrap the bars and switch out the stem and you're like, oh, that needs to be redone. And all of a sudden you're going backwards. It's nice to have a little extra to help for those adjustments and fits kind of situation for sure. So I'm just cleaning up these ends here, making sure there's flush and there's no extra debris. And this is, you know, part of the expected part that I need to have done on this bike. Cables and housing. That pretty much goes with most bikes that I get. Reason being is that's a wear point, and to get your brakes and your shifting to perform at a high level or the best level it's going to be at after the cleaning and everything gives it the best, you know, foot forward, and actually it'll bring a lot of drivetrains back to life. I mean, I've had situations where I've worked on a couple bikes where if I just replace the rear derailleur housing, which is this little piece here that goes in the back where it gets exposed to a lot of contaminants, and I do switch that out, and the shifting all of a sudden starts behaving correctly. You know, so it's like there's a lot of weight to just cables and housing. Cables and housing themselves are not too expensive. As you can see, though, it is labor intensive. Once I get them strung up, then I have to do adjustments. So there is a little bit of a labor cost on that. So keep in mind, and if you can combine it with a tune-up, that's even better. That way you're kind of, you know, a lot of shops will have that package available because, you know, that's the known importance of this, and to make sure it is good to do that kind of riding. So yeah, brake cables, derailleur cables and housing. Also, you know, there's different grades, you know, higher quality, smoother, slick, you know, lined, lubricated housing, that kind of thing. There's a lot of different ones out there, and they could, you know, arrive from like $10 to $100. So, you know, just talking about that for a little bit, is it really worth to go more expensive? Well, you got some qualities there to it. You know, obviously there's a value prop to some of those upper end ones, but getting the top of the line cables and housing, I don't know if you're going to notice that much of a difference performance-wise. There is definitely an increase to some level, but for the best dollar value, I'd probably pick something more mid-range, something, you know, it's a little bit, not the best of the best, but not the low end either. So just a happy medium, and that's probably going to give you the best sweet spot and performance factor on those particular parts and shifting, that kind of thing. Oop. So what I'm using is cable cutters, a file, and a spoke with little ridges on the end that I file down. The ridges help me kind of pull out that material. Little tidbit trick for mechanic work on years. And you know, we ground down spokes all the time, and Park makes some nice little tool set. Or you can ask your dentist, which my uncle is a dentist, I'd ask him for worn out dental tools, which would work just as well. So those things that cross over into the cycling world, kind of amazing. So we'll get this brake cable strung up here. So the things that are known as cables and housing, bar tape, bar, stem, tires, and the general labor of the tune-up that I'll be doing on this one would, okay, so let me tighten this cable, let's break it down. Let's do a little talk through, get together on this, and we'll do the quick math on it. Get this brake adjusted, like so. Tighten them down. Run smooth. Okay, so in general, all right, bar tape. You know, good bar tape is going to be more in the 20-25 range, or you can go with 10, somewhere there. So let's say 15. The bar and stem, that is probably going to be a $100 combo right there with the stem conversion. So let's say 115 right there. Tires, add another $80 lift on that for decent ones. So, okay, we're almost at 200 right there. We're not even talking about cables and housing. I feel like auctioneer. Going higher and going higher. Cables and housing. The cables and housing themselves, you can do like a package like for 15 bucks to 25 bucks. So we're looking at 240, 250. Let's say 250 on that. Oh, dang. Okay, we need to do definitely a contact point, which is a saddle. That's going to be like another 50 to 80 bucks, because that's an investment thing. So you're looking at what? Oh, we're looking at about 360. 360. Oh, pedals, actually, just the platform ones, another 20 bucks, unless you want to do clipless. But let's stick with the 20 because you just started out riding. So we're at 380. Go on. We're looking at the cassette's fine, the chain's fine, the frame's fine, the fork. The wheels were good. Oh, dang. Bottom bracket's shot. So we're at what, 360? Bottom bracket's another 40 bucks. So bottom bracket itself, 40 bucks. So we're at 400 easily. Oh, dang, the headset was toast on this one. Prior video right here showing both the headset and the bottom bracket being replaced on this bike. Headset, you know, 25 to 30 bucks. Yeah, so, okay, let's say a range of 430 to 450, just in parts. The tune-up from a bike shop for just general cables, bar tape, and some of this stuff is going to run you maybe like 100, 150. But when you talk about installing the headset, installing the bottom bracket, that kind of thing, those are a la carte pricing because you're going to be paying a little bit more for those because it takes specialty tools and takes a little out of the spectrum of the overhaul or a tune-up that they have. They may have an overhaul. Okay, if they have an overhaul and you want to do all of that, you know, the baseline on those here locally in Fort Collins is, I think, about $280, let's say $300, make it easy. So $300 for the labor, the technical labor, the expertise to work on this. Then you add the parts. Let's say it was $450. So you're in this for $750. That's not including what you paid for it. So there. That's what's going to cost you. That's what it can end up costing you. And I'm not just making this up. I used to be a service manager. My parents and I, we owned a bike shop where you do a lot of service riding on the spot. So I've been service riding for over 3 decades, right? That is the spectrum right there. And you're not talking about upgrading to high-end stuff. I'm just saying just to get it rolling with your standard mid-grade componentry. So if you're thinking about upgrading some stuff, add a lot more to that. But for me, since I've been in the industry and I do what I'm doing, I had parts and so forth, I had a headset, I had a bottom bracket, I had some tires that are takeoffs that are still good, I had the bars and stem and all that. So actually the parts on my behalf, actually, I mean, it is something I'll have to build into the cost to some level, but not nearly as high to leverage at retail. Because like remember, when I was saying before, when a bike shop is quoting you parts, it's coming from a manufacturer or a wholesaler of new parts. They don't deal with used unless you bring in a derailleur and go, I need this on there, then they'll do it. So if you're savvy and you want to source your own parts to put on that and know what you're doing, great, that might help you in a little bit, but it still is a cost. Oh yeah, jockey pulleys need to be replaced on this one too. That's another 15, 20 bucks. And the brake pads need to be replaced as well, which is another 15, 20 bucks. And on top of that, I was missing a cap on the other side for extracting bolt, which I'll need to order that. I think those are around about 10 bucks too. So, whoa, wait, we're over at least 800. So, keep in mind, if this bike is fully tuned and ready to rock, and you still buy it for under $1,000, you're way high value. Like, let's say if I retail this one, once I haven't done the paperwork, but let's say it runs around $800, right? For me, I can get it to work that way, but for you, this bike would have cost you, with the cost of the bike and all the parts and labor to it, yeah, you're looking at $1,200 to $1,300. On a bike from 1999. So, think about that. I'm done. That's what you would have to pay. That's what it would cost you on this particular bike. So, hope that helps. Not to scare you, but definitely want to look at the top 20 checklists when you go and looking for a used, or at least the top 5 checklists that I have when you go out looking for used. And that'll kind of help take some of that, or a lot of that scary there, out of it. There's a lot of good value used bikes out there. You just first, number 1, make sure it fits, and number 2, make sure you go through it pretty diligently to make sure it is not too many hidden scary things. And number 3, make sure you can test ride it. It's, take it for a spin around the block, make sure it's not test rideable. And again, I always say, if you can't test ride it, walk away. It's not worth it, because you could be faced up with an $800 bill, or worse, a bike frame that's cracked and all you have is a box of parts. Anywho, well, I hope that gives you some incitement, a little bit of shock and awe there, but yeah, this one was kind of, I didn't purposely get this rough of a one, but I did come across some issues, and it cost me in time double to actually get this one back rolling and going. But at the end of the day, though, I am super happy that this bike will go to somebody that is just getting into road riding, and they hopefully will have the best experience possible out of the gate and really get into it. And that's basically my MO. Until another time, thanks for hanging out with me, and check out these beautiful pictures after I finish this one.